Selamat Welcome, everyone. I'm back again with an updated Aurora deck tech. So I've been playtesting this deck a ton, and I've been testing other people's list as well. As you can see, if you're in the purple Aurora Discord, I've been very active there, interacting with, talking to other people who've been testing their own lists. So I have a tab of most of their lists. I've tried them out, each and every one of them, at least most of them. And from what I've gathered, this is the current list that I'm very comfortable running. I have quite a good win rate, as you can see from the results. My results, we have a 68% win rate, which is kinda like a nothing burger, because people don't really play their hardest or with very optimized decks on Talishar, but with this deck that we're winning so much, and maybe there's something here. Let's go straight over to the deck itself. What changed and why 12 blues? So I've been convinced that running fewer blues is better because as we saw at the showcase match between Team Blue Pitch and the card guys, both Pudding Tam and Nathan Crawford were running 12 or less blues. And the reasoning is, while chatting with Nathan himself in the Purple Discord or with other members of the Aurora community, they're very adamant on not wanting to draw multiple blues because we're an aggressive deck. We're a rush down deck. We want to push as much damage as possible to our opponents and end the game quickly. And drawing multiple blues just really puts a hamper on your damage. You might not even want to draw a single blue if you've already prepped an embodiment and you're good to go on your go-agains. So yeah, we just want more reds, more power, more damage, and not drawing multiple blues in a turn. And we mathed that out, and some people landed on 9, being very, very Cheerios, 0 for 4, doing that 0 for 4, 0 for 4, and then Arsenal your next 0 for next turn, which is very, very aggressive, but I feel like sometimes you don't have enough go again, or the cards that can get go again don't line up with the conditions. For example, your Entwine Lightning and you don't have Lightning card in hand to fuse it with, or you have a Lightning Surge but you need to set it up in the arsenal first so you don't have to go again for that turn. So having some blues to weave in our weapon plus embodiment sometimes is great in my opinion. And with 12 blues, it's very rarely that you're going to see a 2 or even 3 in a turn, and you're gonna see one once every like 1.5 to 2 turns. So it's decent enough. You see enough blues where your hands feel smooth and you have embodiments when you need it, but not so much that it makes your damage really, really low. So I've been liking the 12 blues. So that's for the general change. And next up, as you can see, I've swapped out Face Purgatory as the main headpiece. This is because Face Purgatory, after reading it, is just so much value if you're able to get the full effect of the opponent discarding a card and us drawing a card. It's not as easy to utilize as Crown of Providence, where you just push it, tuck your arsenal, save it from a CNC, take 4 damage, and be on your merry way sending 5 cards at the opponent. Face Purgatory doesn't allow you to do that. You can't push 5 cards hand when being faced with arsenal disruption. But what you get is denying the opponent their arsenal while blocking massive damage. You block the full amount most of the time because you block 2, and even if you have a 2 block attack and a 2 block non-attack, that's still 6 total defense against their usually CNC or weakest link. So you get the value total if you math it out. If you value an average card at 3, the opponent discards a card, that's 3 value. This blocks 2, you get 2 value from there, and then you draw a card, which is another 3 value. So you can extract up to 8 value. That's by rating the card at 3 apiece and getting the full effect. But even if you whiff on the discard, the opponent keeps playing around it, you gain value from that as well. It means that they're not arsenaling as much against you. And secondly, you always get the draw effect if you block with a non-attack and an attack. But at the very, very worst case, this is a 2 block blade break headpiece. If you just want to use it for the armor, you don't want to commit cards from hand, it's still at the bare minimum 2 value. So I think it's really good into a lot of matchups, but we still do have Crown of Providence in our sideboard for matchups where they do constantly have Arsenal Disruption, such as Assassins, where they have Command and Conquer and Leave No Witness. Having the Crown of Providence is just handier and enables you to push with that 5-card hand instead of Face Purgatory, where you're not able to push with 5 cards if you're blocking with that to get the full effect. So yeah, I've been liking it a lot, but this means that we're changing the deck a bit to enable it more. Previously, I was on 9 non-attacks, which is Burn Up, Arc Lightning, and Sizzle, which for me, those 3 are staying for whichever build I'm playing. Even non-attack instance, I'm playing those because those are our best cards. 0 for 5 can enable instant shenanigans, hits on weapons. Our Arc Lightning, this is one of the reasons we can cut on blues, because if we start the turn with no embodiment, but with Arc Lightning, we have our Go Again for the turn. And it's a yellow lightning card with Go Again. It's really good. And Sizzle is just a lightning card with Go Again that works together with our weapon. So the worst case scenario, you draw Sizzle and a blue, you can still push 5 and create an embodiment for next turn. So those 3 are definitely mainstays in my opinion. But the addition of the non-attacks that we're running is Blue Electrify, which works really well if you set it up in the arsenal when you draw multiple blues, for example Electrify, and you draw a blink. Use the blink for the weapon plus embodiment, and then you tuck this Electrify in your arsenal and you pair it up when you're with your tunic or when you have a blue in hand. So paying the cost, you can still extract value. You get to create an embodiment, this cantrips, and you get the extra 1 free damage. So that's the addition of the blues to pair up with the Face Purgatory. So let's discuss the reds first. So the main changes I made to the reds was, since we took out 4 blues, it means that we can put in more reds. So the first thing is I put in Ravenous Rabble, which makes sense. If you're running less blues, it is less likely for Ravenous to hit a yellow or a blue if you're running more reds. So it's a very consistent 0 for 4 most of the time. And even on the worst case where you do hit a blue off the top, it's a 0 for 2 with natural Go Again. So it's a really good starter when you don't have that embodiment, or it's also a good extender for the middle piece when you don't have a good other Go Again card in your hand. For example, you already used the embodiment on an attack that doesn't naturally have Go Again, you rabble, and then you end on something else. So I've been very impressed with Rabble, even though it's a generic, which was a knock for it for me. Personally, in the beginning, I was very keen on keeping on 6 generic attacks, since these generic attacks, they don't work well with Sizzle. For Sizzle, you need lightning or elemental attack. And more generics means you're either running less lightning cards or less elemental cards, so less Sizzle synergy. And if you're running less lightning, it means it's harder to enable your weapon / hero ability / entwine lightning or arcanic shockwave for the fuse, since you have fewer lightning cards, but it's been very, very worth it. And next up is arcanic shockwave. This card came in and out of my list a couple of times. I've been really high on the card at the very beginning, since it's a 0 for 5 basically. It's a 0 cost 4 power attack that pings your opponent for 1 arcane, which is very annoying to deal with, and it helps enable your CLV very, very well, because the 1 arcane ping and the breakpoint attack, if they have all 3 blocks and no armor left, this is going to take 3 cards from the opponent just to deny the CLV trigger. But the knock against this card is no way to give it go again other than embodiments, and this is not a lightning card, it's an elemental card, which is still better than generics because it works with Sizzle, but sometimes not having cards that can gain go again sucks if you draw too many of them in one hand, but the upside's been worth it. Let's see, what else did I change? Everything else basically stayed the same for the reds. Flirting Charge, Entwine Lightning, Second Strike. These cards are the bread and butter because they can get go again. And Gone in a Flash is just way too good. It's lightning wounding blow with the upside that you can combo with it. So yeah, no more changes for the reds and no changes for the yellows. They're only CLV and our spec. No way we're ever going to change that. The other major change for the main deck is our blues. Since we're leaning a bit heavier on the Gone in a Flash combo, now I'm running more instant blues, where in the place previously we had Heaven's Claw blue for the blue 3 block. We want our blues to be able to be played as well as being pitched instead of for blocking, because we already have enough blocking cards with the addition of Arcanic Shockwave that blocks 3, and we just want more cards that we can play out of our hand and be happy with it, because you're never happy when you're playing a Heaven's Claw blue. But meanwhile, Electrify is actually a pretty good card to play if you set it up from your arsenal, and the Sigil of Lightning and the Blink works really well with Gone in a Flash. So we're keeping that. We cut the Heaven's Claw blue to put the Electrify in, and we cut the Lightning Press blue because after re-evaluating, it's much better for you to be on sigils, because first of all, you can play them out when you're threatened by Weakest Link and you can defend it out. Second, it's just really low value. Getting +1 just to push through the on hit, it means you're spending an extra card to get the on hit. So the on hit, even if it's, for example, Snatch, you're just refunding the card. And that's with Snatch, which has the best on hit. And for every other on hit, for example, Static Shock, and that's basically it. Static Shock's the only other on hit, and probably pushing like Burn Up. Is it really worth it to commit a whole extra card to do the +1? I don't think so. Especially, this is where a lot of the other changes are coming in. It's in our sideboard slots. So you can see Crown of Providence moved to the sideboard. We still have Carapace because it's just very good. It's very value if you're playing the trading game against aggro. The 3 block helps. And we just have a bunch of Spell Void equipments and Shock Charmers and Spell Fray Tiara, because Kano apparently is still a kind of a real deck. Okay, so Sideboard's completely revamped. You no longer see us huffing Wispium anymore. The card's just a little bit too bad when it's not paired up with Arc Lightning, and with only 3 copies of it and 3 copies of Arc Lightning, you don't get to pair it up consistently, or sometimes if you just park it in Arsenal, your Arsenal's going to be blocked or clogged up for a long time, so it's really not worth committing slots to it. To combat fatigue, we have other plans. The main change here is we have a few packages. The Blast to Oblivion and Sigil of Conductivity, we call that the instant package, so instant combo package. So if you're all in on doing the combo, for example against defensive decks where they're just gonna block you out and give you room to set up, you want this to have the biggest turns that you can muster. So we're going to be, when we're bringing this in, we're going to cut our current funnel because we're not going to be blocking in that matchup. So we're swapping current funnel out for a Sigil of Conductivity, and we swap out our Arcanic Shockwave for our Blast to Oblivion. And we just do our combo shenanigan, because if you play Gunner Flash, a Sigil, and then you blast, and then you instant, and then you return the Sigil back to hand, you now have the instant to play with the Gone in Flash again, which is really good. Coax, again, is where you're playing a very, very aggressive game. The opponent's blocking a lot. You might want to side this in because your cards attack for 4, their cards block for 3. If you play this and you draw a card and create a Quicken, and you attack with another 4, well, they block with the card that you just gave, but that's an extra point of damage that you're dealing. And Coax Commotion works really, really well with Electromagnetic Somersault, because you can coax and then you EMS it back to hand. You choose draw and quicken. Now you have a quicken to play your coax again. So, and if you draw into another EMS, that's great. You can do that whole shebang all over again. Lastly, we have Warmongers, which is insane to think about because we're technically a Runeblade, but I'm a ninja main, and I know in my heart of hearts that Aurora is a lightning ninja, not a lightning Runeblade. That's why she can utilize Warmongers quite well. She doesn't have a lot of non-attacks, and when you side this in, you swap it out with the Electrifies. So we only have a couple of non-attacks left, and hopefully you just don't draw them after you play this and say War, but it's really good into the other Runeblades, especially Viscerai. And second, it's also really good against Azalea, which we don't really like because she has that red in the ledger dominate bullshit. So yeah, those are the changes that I made. Oh yeah, and what I cut for these cards are the Wisps, the CNC, and the Weakest Links. So basically the 2-cost disruption package, they're no longer worth it to run, because since we're on lower blues, we can less consistently play them. So we're either going to have to either block with them or park them in Arsenal and hope we draw a blue on our next turn, which is not the most consistent of game plans, because sometimes we just want to keep pushing our hands, keep pumping out damage and disrupting them when we want to, not when we draw the blue. So those are the changes that I made. I'll link the deck down in the description below so you can try it out for yourself. Use this button to play it on Talishar. Let me know what you think. And that's it for today's Deck Tech update. Be sure to like and subscribe, because it is the best free way that you can support me creating free Flesh and Blood content directly into your YouTube video feed. And that'll be it for today. And as always, sound bye goodbye.